Of the City of Newport News Planning Commission to order, and I'd like to start off by asking for Commissioner Shook to read our purpose.
Okay. The Newport News Planning Commission is mandated by state law, and its members are appointed by City Council. Section 15.2, TAC 2210 of the Code of Virginia states, in part, that every locality shall create a planning commission in order to promote the orderly development of the locality and its environment. The statutory purpose is to improve the public health, safety, convenience, and welfare of the citizens, and to plan the future development of the communities. In serving this statutory purpose, the Commission invites the comments at the public hearing of its interested citizens of the matters before it and welcomes your presence. Madam Chairwoman, I move that we adopt the agenda before us.
Second.
Okay, the agenda has been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to our invocation. Commissioner Williams, would you please honor us with the...
Yes, ma'am. Oh, gracious Creator, thank you for this opportunity for us to serve you well in this capacity on behalf of our citizens. With that being said, we invoke your presence, your wisdom, into all matters germane to the City of Newport News, as done through this Planning Commission. And we thank you for this opportunity to serve our fellow persons in such a way. To your glory we ask. Amen.
Amen. Okay, and Commissioner Shook, would you again lead us in the pledge?
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. All right, now, we all have received the minutes, and I hope that there are no additions, corrections, and if there are not, then the minutes are going to stand as presented. At this point, we are going to open our public hearing. And the first item is a change of zoning, CZ 2023-0003. And this is going to be presented by Planner Saul Gleiser. Welcome, Saul.
Good afternoon.
Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
So we have application CZ 2023-0003. It is by Gethsemane Baptist Church and Centara Healthcare, which are the property owners and the applicant. The properties are located at 3509 Chestnut Avenue and 1149 35th Street and contain a total of 1.06 acres and it's currently occupied by the church and its parking lot. North of the property, we have vacant lot and single-family homes on property zoned C1 retail, commercial, and R4 single-family dwelling, respectively. East, we have Booker T. Washington Middle School on property zone P1 Park. South, we have Barrett's Beauty Shop, zone C1 retail, commercial, and New Birth Church of Deliverance, vacant lots, and single-family homes on property zone R4 single-family dwelling. And finally, west, we have single-family homes on properties zone R4 single-family dwelling. The proposed health care clinic is in keeping with the One City, One Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan land use community facilities designation. The properties have been zoned C1 retail, commercial, and R4 single-family dwelling since the citywide comprehensive rezoning became effective August 1st of 1997. It is important to note that on October 21st, 1986, the Board of Zoning Appeals granted a special exception, SE 1883, reducing on-site parking requirements for a church and eliminating all the required transitional buffer areas abutting all residential properties. Section 45-3405 of the zoning ordinance permits a property owner to offer proffers at the time of application for a change of zoning. These proffers will govern the development and use of the property. Rezoning the properties to C1 retail, commercial will allow the reuse of the building for a health center and food bank pantry, a use that, unlike a church, cannot be located in a residential zoning district. Although a 30-foot transitional buffer area is required between commercially zoned properties and single-family zone areas, as I mentioned before, the transitional buffer areas were reduced to 0 feet in 1986 with the special exception. Currently, there are approximately 60 parking spaces that serve the structure. None of the commenting departments had any objections to this request. The property was developed as a church in 1989 and has continued to operate as such. Currently, it houses the Nation Church, which will continue to operate on the site until it is turned over to Centera Healthcare if the rezoning request is approved. The applicant proposes to utilize the existing structure for a healthcare clinic. The applicant is proposing to house a series of medical services that are absent from the community. Besides the health-related uses, the applicant proposes to run a food bank pantry and offer cooking classes for community members. The applicant has voluntarily provided 5 proffers that address the overall use of the properties. While not changing the underlying zoning for the commercial parcel fronting Chestnut Avenue, the proffers will now govern how the property is used. As proffered, the uses for the newly created parcel will be limited to community support service uses, preventing the intrusion of commercial uses that may have a negative impact on the adjacent residential parcels and the community as a whole. In conclusion, the proposed change of zoning is consistent with the One City, One Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan land use map, and the proposed proffers provide protection from further intrusions into the residential neighborhood by limiting the uses of the property to community support uses. Hence, it is recommended that City Planning Commission recommend to City Council approval of change of zoning ZZ 2023-0003 for the properties located at 3509 Chestnut Avenue and 1149 35th Street from C1 Retail Commercial and R4 Single Family Dwelling to C1 Retail Commercial with proffers. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
So once they turn it over to Centera, the church will no longer operate, so there won't be a church and a clinic going on at the same
Correct.
time? Okay.
So I assume with this that it's all for profit then? This is not a non-for-profit venture, this is for profit.
Yes. But they have programs that will allow for Medicaid, Medicare recipients, and the Centara Healthcare has some programs that are geared for low-income housing people. And
Okay.
so it is for profit, but the main aim is to provide healthcare services for the community.
So this is truly a joint venture between Gethsemane and Centera?
Well, they will keep ownership of the building.
Okay.
So the church retains ownership of the existing building.
Correct.
And I don't know, maybe my question is better addressed to the pastor, but how large is the church now? I mean, how many people are in the church?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
The church doesn't operate out of this building. The church
Okay,
has
so
been
there's
leasing.
nothing in it right now.
Right.
No, there is-
It was
there is-
leasing, it was leasing the building to another church.
Correct.
But now to be leasing the building to this entity.
Centenary.
Okay. And do you know how large the church population they're leasing it to is?
No, I don't know that.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Saul. And I'm going to continue with the public hearing open. I see I have, for questions, Pastor Dwight Riddick. And maybe you could answer my question. How large is the actual attendance at the church that's leasing the building?
Thank you. Currently, no one is in the building. The building is not occupied.
So no one is attending church there at all?
Correctly.
Okay, that's what I was wondering about. It's just basically an empty building.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Pastor Riddick.
Pastor Riddick, and could you state your name and address for the record?
I'm sorry. Pastor Dwight Riddick, and represent Gethsemane Baptist Church, 5405 Roanoke Avenue, Newport News, Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I got a couple of questions, but the first one, just give a little detail on how this relationship will work between you and Centera with this building.
We will primarily lease the building to Centera. Centera will actually run its program out of the building. So it is not necessarily a joint venture.
Okay.
The role that the church will play, for example, there would be a food section, a food distribution section, and we will provide volunteers who will help with distributing food to the community. But in terms of the medical operation, that is all Centera's responsibility.
Okay. And my only other question is, as part of your agreement with Centera, are they going to offer some form of like wellness activities? I know at your church, you do something like the senior exercise through the Y. Have you discussed with Centera doing some sort of activities like that in this building?
Sure, yes. The building will provide first and foremost primary care, mental health, in particular for addiction, drug addiction. And then there is space, community space, where members of the community will be able to come in and use the building for community-type activities. And we also have an opportunity to develop ongoing programs such as you've mentioned, programs for mobility. There is also physical therapy. So it is really designed to, one, help to change the trajectory of health in our community and to provide resources for the entire community.
And then if I can ask one more quick question, Madam Chair.
You may.
The urgent care facility, did they give you a time that it will be able to be open and available to the community, to the public?
There is a Centera representative who might
Okay.
be
Well, I'll wait for him.
better suited to answer that question.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a quick question. So, just to make it clear for everyone, you're just the leasing agent on this?
Correct.
Because I looked at the plot of the design changes that's going to be proposed as far as the metal sheets of metal, whatever goes over this cross and all the rendition, all the, the word I'm looking for, all the
Aesthetic operation.
aesthetic, renovations and the things that sends it back to a church perspective is going to be removed in some way. So it's going to be just a Centera building complex from that point forward, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. That's going to be
But
interesting.
I have just a follow-up question. This urgent care, are you going to be receiving ambulances?
He doesn't.
No.
It is, I think it's primary care, so it's not for emergency room
Okay, so
type
it's an
care.
urgent care like we think, okay.
So rather than the urgent care, it is
All right.
probably primary care physicians.
Okay.
Pastor Rick, I just want to say, about 10 years ago, I was involved with going to Huon Hill and a group from Riverside, getting the community free clinic in Newport News going, and was able to participate in helping run that for the first 3 or 4 years of its operation. There's absolutely not enough services of this nature in this part of our community to go around, and I commend you and commend the group that you're working with, your clergy and your vestry, and certainly the team from Centera. Congratulations on putting this together and continuing to treat the needs of those in the Southeast community.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
If I could just make this comment, of course, our church did reconstruct a facility on Roanoke Avenue. And as our members have wrestled with this whole idea, we really believe that there's no better use for this building than to help those who live in our community to experience a healthier lifestyle.
And it is a vacant building right now, which,
Correct.
yes. Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
I do have some other cards. And let's see, I will start off with Nelson Armstrong. Would you like to come forward and speak? State your name and address for the record, please. Mr. Armstrong,
afternoon.
welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nelson Armstrong. I live at 1145 36th Street in Newport News, which is directly across the street from the facility that we're talking about. I come this afternoon to share a few concerns of those of us who live there. While we appreciate all of what we've heard from Gethsemane Church, there are things that give us a bit of nervousness. The corner of Chestnut Avenue and 36th Street is a difficult place to make a left turn because there is a school, the Booker T. Washington School, right there on Chestnut Avenue. So as you come up 36th Street and want to make that turn, preschool and after school is very, very busy with parents attending to drop off and pick up their schools. And all too often, someone is attempting to make a U-turn right in that intersection. When there are special events that are going on, in addition to school, the traffic is tremendous and the parking is tremendous. So for 5 days of each week, when the school is in session, that's a hazardous place in many, many ways. I've written to the city manager's office about this before, and the city manager's office was very kind about taking down trees and getting some things moved and so forth, because when you pull up from 36th Street, you have to go into Chestnut Avenue just a little bit of a way to make the turn. And that's quite hazardous. And for those of us that live there, we remain quite concerned about that. On any given Sunday when church was in session, or when there were events in the church not on a Sunday, parking can really, really be bad. While there is,
It's not you.
You get it?
There's
we
You
knew
gotta
that
turn it
would
all the
happen.
way
Good
off.
job. Good job.
We knew that would happen.
Mine off.
Mine's off.
Yeah, I'm younger than you. I'm not even.
They're doing a national.
Yes.
No, you gotta
Yeah.
turn it off.
Mine
turn it
off.
off.
Somebody else. Mine off. Y'all ears.
Could the person in the audience whose phone that is, could they turn it all the way off? It's gotta go all the way off.
Thank you.
Shall I
I
continue
think
now?
it should be over in a
I was
second.
gonna say, it's
so,
probably done.
Yeah, it was. I'm sorry you were interrupted.
Quite all right.
Please continue.
I was going to say that when church is in session or things are going on there, or when the school is in session, parking on 36th Street on both sides make the street very, very narrow. And in the time that I had been living there, my father built the house actually back in 1952. I just returned about 10 years ago to Newport News, and I'm back in the house with my sister living there. In that time, I think I've seen no less than 7 or maybe 8 car accidents where someone speeding down the 1100 block of 36th Street has hit a parked car. Because it's narrow in a way, and parking can happen on either side of the street, and there's a fair amount of speeding that takes place there because it looks like a fairly open place with a parking lot there, and because 36th Street is often a chosen pathway between Chestnut Avenue and Jefferson Avenue, it doesn't have the lights that 30th Street or 28th Street or 27th Street and so forth may have. There's just that one stop sign at Roanoke Avenue and that one traffic light at Madison Avenue. It is a chosen way to go back and forth, and oftentimes the 1100 block is where that speeding takes place. For many of us, we want to make sure our cars are off the street. The church has been very kind. Both of the churches that have been there have been very kind because some of us park in their lots off the street. And if a commercial situation comes in, we are somewhat concerned that they'll stop us from doing that. And we are just worried that the traffic in all of this, we want to make sure that's taken into concern as you think about what to do. With that, I thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions?
Yes.
So, go ahead.
Saul, can you please, I think you're gonna say this, can you possibly put that map back up so we can all see where exactly the gentleman is talking about? The area map that shows up, the one that we're looking at, which is this one right here.
A1.
A1. Without all the, thank you. Because my daughter went to Booker T, so I'm fully aware of what you were talking about when that school lets out up in there, because some of the parents, and I was one of them, that used to park over there just to be close.
Right.
So I can get my daughter and come across the street. So and I know that, Saul, you reported that there was no concern, no problems, nothing identified from any of the other departments. But have they taken a look at what that would do when you had a full-time business there?
Just keep in mind that this is a rezoning, not a conditional use permit.
I'm aware.
And there are no changes proposed to the building or the site.
And the parking meets the use. The parking meets the zoning.
Yes.
Correct. But
And what's
So
the hours?
I'm sorry, the Department of Transportation Engineering Department did review it in answer to your question, and they had no concerns.
What's the hours again of the facility?
yeah,
I think that's something that the operator probably would need to
Okay.
answer.
okay.
If I might, I have talked about that for a number of years, and each time it seems that everything is okay. I invite anyone to come and make that left turn and see what it's like at times. Even when school is not in session, because of the way it's set up, it's just difficult to see who might be coming. There's a traffic light on 35th Street and Chestnut Avenue, but that's not always helpful when that line backs up and you're sitting on 36th Street trying to get out of there. Just the idea of safety is what brings it up for me.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the next card. We have Dorothy Barnes. Would you please come forward and state your name and address for the record? Welcome.
Yes, my name is Dorothy Barnes. I live at 1111 36th Street at Roanoke Avenue in the 1100 block. My concerns are the very same as Mr. Armstrong. We have parents dropping their kids off at the corner for school, so that's okay, that's normal. But then we have the buses going through to Booker T, and that presents a problem when we're trying to get out in the morning or afternoons. Then the community has decided that from Jefferson Avenue to Chestnut Avenue is the quickest way to get to 664. So that brings a lot of traffic into the neighborhood, kids standing on the corner sometimes to catch the bus. Then we have Libra, the manufacturing plant, and people are coming in and out of there, whatever their shifts are. But then, as Mr. Armstrong stated, when we're trying to get out, we cannot get out. We have to wait. And when Gethsemane Church was there in operation, the members would park across our driveway. We could not get out. The only way we could get a handle on that, we had to call the police department, get them involved, because people would get out of the car, take off, so we couldn't stop them. Listen, you're in my driveway. I want to get out to go worship also. I have no other concerns other than the kids going to Booker T School with so much traffic there. The buses are on Chestnut Avenue, then they're dropping them off. Parents are parked there also. That creates other traffic. And all the other things that Mr. Armstrong said, I agree with 100%. As he mentioned the parking situation, they have to park off the street because many accidents have happened, people turning off of Chestnut onto 36th Street, and then we suffer the damage. Thank you very kindly.
Thank you. Can I just ask a question, Sheila?
No, I was just going to say, it'd probably be better if you asked the representative from Centerra to come up, so that way
Well,
you...
what I'm curious about, this is a rezoning. Now, what goes in there after the rezoning, is it going to require any kind of a special use, conditional use? It will be there by right.
No,
No, it's still gonna
no,
need that.
because I think they proffered this particular use only.
Okay.
Right. So no other commercial uses could go there, basically.
Okay, but, and there's not going to be any type of conditional use permit required for the healthcare center?
No.
This is all that's gonna happen,
Yes.
is the rezoning, and my concern is a lot of these issues don't really have anything to do with our rezoning issue. And I'm just trying to figure out how we work some of that out.
I think the Centerra representative needs to come up because there are ways to work it out. First of all, this is a health facility for the community. The likelihood is the traffic that they experience with the church is not going to be the same.
Right.
You have off-street parking. You have two entrances from 35th Street, 36th Street. So I believe Centerra can make arrangements where that street's not as impacted, but you'd have to speak with the Centerra representative.
Okay, I'm looking to see if the Centerra representative filled out a card.
No.
Oh.
Can you come forward and fill out a card, and can you get him a card?
My name's Kyle Ramsey. I'm a construction manager with Centerra Health.
Your address?
Where your address? Your address, sir.
We're at 3105 Poplar Hall in Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
I think they're looking for some answers in terms of hours of operation and those
Sure,
types of
sure.
things.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was a question in particular you wanted answered. The hours of operation, I believe, will be from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., typical business hours. Oh, thank you. And as far as some of the other comments, I was just trying to think through, was there any other particular questions?
Well,
I think, is it fair to say there's a significant concern about the traffic impact in that intersection? And I don't want to speak out of turn, but say that the healthcare community, the healthcare facility that you're here to support and here to detail us on is probably not going to increase the impact of a traditional church congregation. The days of the week may be different, but the actual impact would probably be comparable or less. I would also argue, speaking from experience with the clinic that I was involved in, that many of your patrons may be taking the bus, maybe carpooling, or maybe walking or biking to your facility and not using a vehicle.
That's correct.
and it appears to me that the traffic is an issue now.
Right.
So I'm not really sure that our rezoning, it doesn't appear that it will have any impact on, may lessen the traffic, but again, it's a rezoning and the proffers are there and the engineering department has had no problem with it, correct?
Can I say something real quick? I think with the traffic concern, I don't piggybacking off my brother Bowditch. The church, you know, we have churches, 300, 400, 500, 600 people going at one time for Sunday morning or Wednesday night or Tuesday night. But as far as the medical facility, you know, you don't want that many people there at the same time anyway, I don't think, because, you know, you're going to have to serve each person because you're only going to have limited amount of staff. And I would just say in this community, I mean, most of the time what I see in the African-American community are more liquor stores and strip clubs and things of that nature. I'd rather definitely, I know I don't live there, but I'd definitely rather see a medical facility there, especially some individuals who may live down there who don't have a car and don't need the transportation. Won't need the transportation to get there, as you were saying, with the car, I mean, with the bike or walking, because a lot of times we'll, you know, try to pick people up from downtown and get them to a medical facility if they call the church, even though we on the north side of town. And I just feel like it'll definitely help some people. I know people would be upset because, you know, any change will upset people, but I believe it's a positive change in the community. So I thank you all for doing what you're trying to do.
Question, Commissioner?
I did. I understand your position and where you stand as far as your role in this whole project, but have you heard what the community is saying in regards to their concerns about the property and also their concerns about being able to utilize your area, the parking lots on the off nights, off days, or because now you're going to be open 5 days a week potentially. They are presently taking their cars off the main road because of the fact that they've been damaged so many times, and the present setup is that they can use the parking lot to park their cars off the fair. Is there a problem with them going forward, potentially doing that consistently like they're doing it now? Is there going to be a problem? Is there going to be signs popping up, no parking here, when they're using them now? The neighborhood is using it now to get their cars off the road so they don't get damaged?
Sure, I understand. I think ultimately the goal of this project is to serve and help the community.
Correct, that's what I thought, right.
To hinder folks from being able to park within the space, it seems counterproductive.
Right.
This is for the community, not working against it.
Right.
That would be my answer at this time.
And I think that would ease some of the concerns that the community that spoke on it has, but also I think the city itself owes them some due diligence in looking at that, because I live in the north end. There are speed bumps popped up all around my church. So I don't think why some of that could be, it's not yours to consider, but I think the city should take a look at 36th Street and put more of them if there's some there already.
I think we're getting a little out of the.
I know, but that's why I said it's not his concern, but I just think
No.
you should, I understand what you're doing and why we're doing it, but you still don't look beyond the people that are initially concerned and initially affected by this new project. There's something that can be done, and I think if you open the door and say, you can still park here like you're doing now,
Okay,
that'll go a long ways.
thank you.
Sure, of course.
Did you have a question? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're gonna move on to our next card, and that's Kate Jackson. Katie Jackson. Please come forward and state your name and address.
Good afternoon. Katie Jackson, I say 1114 36th Street. And there's always been an issue with the traffic, because like Mr. Armstrong and Ms. Barnes said, they use 36th Street as a throughway to get to 664. And even when the church was there, we had issues with parking, block your driveway. They come speeding down. They don't stop at the stop sign. And even when you're coming out of 36th Street onto Chestnut, you got to inch your way out because you got cars parked on both sides, and you really can't see. And someone can easily hit you. And even having your driveway blocked, if you're late for a doctor's appointment and you're 15 minutes late, they reschedule you and you have to pay for the office visit. Your insurance will not pay. And it's becoming a very inconvenience when you come home from the hospital and you can't even pull up in your driveway. And it seems to be that parking has always been an issue on 36th Street. Cars speed, they don't look where they're going, and your car will be totally, after they hit you and they keep going. I've been hit and the person kept going. And, you know, it's just a main issue if a health facility, because of the parking. We are a community, we employ people to do what needs to be done for the community. But when it hampers our own safety and even our own health, that presents a problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on, we have another card here.
So that just spoke. That's the gentleman just spoke.
Okay. All right, we have another card from Ms. Gloria Coleman. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Gloria Coleman, and I live at 1124 36th Street. And my main...
Ma'am, may I ask you to please lower your microphone a little?
I'll come closer
So
to
we
it.
can hear you? Yes, thank you.
I talk kind of soft, too. Okay. My name is Gloria Coleman, and my address is, I live at 1124 36th Street. And my main concern is the parking and people going down the street, going to the interstate, they flying, and we have asked if we could get speed bumps on that street, because I have grandkids that play outside, and sometimes, even when I'm parked, they flying down the street, and I'm trying to get out of my car. I almost got hit one time. But anyway, that's my main concern. And it was, I had a thought, I didn't understand what this was saying, what was going on down the street. You know, okay, that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
You're
and
welcome.
we appreciate you coming down. But this is a rezoning. Those existing issues.
Right.
I don't know that we can.
Pastor Riddick stated that he could come back up and address the parking on the site issue, if you would like.
That's really good.
I would be delighted. Please feel free.
Thank you. The intent of the facility, again, is to be community-oriented. And to give you an example, and so that residents would not be concerned about whether or not they would be able to park into the parking lot, just last week, Booker T. Washington School made a request that in the event the school would need to evacuate, could the building or the grounds be used by the students there for that particular need or any other need. And so Centera came back very quickly and said, by all means, this facility is here for the community. So in no way is there an attempt to keep the residents from parking. If they need to park there in that parking lot, I'm 100% sure there would never be an issue or a problem. As we've worked with Centera, we've also worked to make sure that the facility is community-friendly. And so I would certainly like to put to rest the minds of the residents, if there's a need to park there, there's not going to be an issue. And if there are other needs that that building can serve, the building is there for the community.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Pastor.
Madam Chair,
Thank you.
right here. You've mentioned that, this is a zoning ordinance and wondering, what the relevance, if anything, of what some of the citizens have said is in reference to your consideration of the changing the zoning in this case. And I just want to bring to your attention that 15.12283 of the Code of Virginia does talk about the purpose of zoning ordinances. And of course, you're not making a change, you are making a change in reference to the zoning
Right.
for the city. And in that regard, the section does say that, of course, the purpose of zoning ordinances is to promote the health, safety, and general welfare of the public. And to that end, it states in this section a variety of factors that are up for consideration in making that determination. One of them is to reduce or prevent congestion in the public streets. However, you've mentioned that the concerns that have been stated are existing concerns.
Right.
And so you all would be considering whether this change of zoning request would increase any of the problems mentioned or not. And if certainly the property is already zoned, part of it, commercial, C1 commercial, and it's already zoned where another church could come in there under the single-family dwelling designation, the R4. And so, certainly information has been presented to you. You just have to give whatever weight you feel it needs. And so certainly congestion in the streets, parking is relevant, but the issue is, would this proposed rezoning create a larger problem than already exists? Yeah.
Right, which it sounds like it could be alleviating some of those problems, but again,
And that's up for you.
and that's what I would, if the engineering department had had an issue, I would like to have heard their concerns moving forward, because we can't address what's already wrong.
That's right.
Can I do a point of clarification, ma'am? So, to the residents that's here, point of clarification. When you talk about people using 36th Street to get to 664, you're talking about them coming from Roanoke, Jefferson Way, down 36th Street to make the left on Chestnut to go to 664 entryway? Okay. Now, and correct me if I'm wrong, the building is south of that. So I understand your concern. I don't know where they need to address that overall traffic concern. But in terms of the building is not going to increase that. In fact, the use should hopefully spread it out so that you don't have those concentrated times as with a church in order to have all of that traffic in that area, as well as people using 36th Street to try to get to the Chestnut Avenue entryway on the other side of Pembroke Avenue. Is that correct? Am I correct with that? Yes, sir.
Well, I think you were correct.
Would you,
You have to come-
can
you have to
you
approach.
please approach the podium and,
Speaking to the
Nelson
mic.
Armstrong, while I think you are correct, it appears to me that people may be hearing that there's a problem already and this does not add to it. I came to say, I think this does add to it. In fact, I think we're all hoping that people will take advantage of this. This is exactly what we need in our neighborhood. I think those of us that live there want this just as much as the people that might bring it will want this. I am not at all convinced that people are going to come on bicycles only or come by bus and that the traffic is going to be reduced. What I think I see based on living there is that not only will be the school traffic Monday through Friday, but that what was church traffic once on Sunday now combines on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday with the school traffic that's already there. So I hope no one will hear me saying or anybody saying we don't want the services and so forth that are being talked about. I am particularly concerned about Sunday turning into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, in addition to the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from school. So I see an addition, not a reduction.
okay, thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing because I think we now can put the matter before the commission. And I'd like to hear a motion.
Okay, Madam Chair, I move that change of zoning number CZ Tech 2023 Tech 0003 be approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
I have something to say. I have an active contract with Centera Healthcare, not realizing that they were part of the applicant. I apologize. I just assumed they were the tenant, so I will be recusing my vote.
Okay, I don't think you have to leave the room. Okay. All right, so that was your discussion.
Yeah, that was my discussion.
You're not discussing. Okay, yes, Commissioner.
Madam Chair, although I'll be voting for a change of zoning, I'd just like to note, at least get on the record that we need to have city engineering, traffic and control, take a look at this situation and consider doing something in regards to 36th Street, although it's not before us and it's not something we can do. I'm well aware of all of this, so don't even tell me I know. But it's still something that should be looked at. If you've driven down there like I have enough times, you know exactly what they're talking about. And if you think it's not going to change, you're wrong. Just go over there in about 20, 30 minutes and see for yourself. It doesn't take much to see it. Thank you.
There was no traffic study done.
No, which needs to be.
There's a traffic impact statement that was required, but essentially it's based on number of trips. And when you look at the two uses, it was the same.
Is that there's a study that can be done and there's a practicality. So I'm just saying, from an engineer, be practical about it and take a look at it.
I think we have to
That's all.
turn that over to engineering.
That's all I'm asking.
Sure the head of the Department of Engineering is watching. Craig. Other comments?
Ready for the vote?
Okay, Deidre, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Maxwell,
4.
Mr. Dice,
4.
Mr. Shook,
4.
Mr. Williams,
4.
Mr. Taylor,
4.
Mr. Bowditch,
4.
Ms. Stodgel,
Can't
I
vote.
recuse my vote.
Miss
She has to recuse herself. She can't vote.
I can't vote.
Ms. Fox.
4.
I'm sorry, you said you can't vote?
She's abstaining.
She's
There's a
abstaining.
conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest.
We appreciate you all coming down here today and hope that you will keep your eye on this project. And if you have questions or issues, please feel free to reach out to the staff and get with them and talk to engineering about the traffic issues. So thank you. This is going to be heard. by City Council
Yeah,
on, I
Madam
got it.
Chairwoman, I think the Secretary's just going to read the results of the vote, just for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, please.
Motion 7-0 with one abstention.
Thank you. It's going to be heard at City Council on October the 24th, and certainly you all have the opportunity to return and talk to City Council. But again, thank you. Okay. We're going to move on to our zoning text amendment. Flora, welcome.
Thank you.
Ms. Chiros.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Planning Commissioners. I'm here to discuss zoning text ZT 2023-004. The amendment will add a definition of continuing care facility to the zoning ordinance, stipulate in which districts the use can occur, and provide regulation on how it will operate. Currently, the zoning ordinance provides for different types of facilities for seniors. However, it does not provide for an overall integration of all these types of uses and care together. The proposed amendment provides that definition of an integrated community for all stages of life from 55 and up, and types of housing within one community. The use would be allowed by right in all single-family and multiple-family residential districts, commercial districts, and office districts, with a minimum requirement of 3 acres when located in single-family districts. Since the use could occur between different zoning districts, the general regulations eliminate the transitional buffer area requirements between the different zoning districts on the campus of the continuing care facility. The regulations do not negate the transitional buffer areas between the facility and any surrounding properties. In addition, they establish a 25-foot setback for any structure on the property. The regulations provide for an open space requirement for active and passive recreation. On August 23, 2023, the Regulations Committee reviewed and recommended approval of the above referenced amendment. It is therefore recommended that City Planning Commission recommend to City Council the adoption of zoning ordinance text amendment ZT-2023-0004. Any questions?
Sorry, just one comment. I think you mentioned a 25-foot setback. It actually shows 20 foot.
Oh, 20 foot, sorry. Did I?
Yeah, sorry, just
I
mark it down.
apologize.
No problem.
Yeah.
Comments, questions for Flora? Okay. Thank you very much, Flora. Wow. Matter before the commission.
Madam Chairman.
Pardon?
Madam Chairman.
Mr. Taylor wants to make a motion,
No.
I believe.
Thank you. No, I don't have any cards. Sorry. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman.
Yes.
I move that we recommend to City Council adoption of zoning text amendment ZT TAC 2023 TAC 0004.
And I second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dice.
4.
Mr. Shook.
4.
Mr. Williams.
4.
Mr. Taylor.
4.
Mr. Bowditch.
4.
Ms. Stodgel.
4.
Dr. Maxwell.
4.
Ms. Fox.
4.
Motion unanimous.
Okay. Motion unanimous, and this is going to be heard by City Council on October the 24th. So we have another zoning text amendment, ZT 2023-0005. Again, welcome, Ms. Chiros.
Good afternoon again. This request is to amend Article 22, C3 Regional Business District Regulations to amend the area and dimensional regulations, buffering provisions, permitted signage, and loading provisions in the district. The Regional Business District, as you know, encompasses the historic downtown of Newport News. The zoning ordinance currently prescribes area and dimensional requirements for buildings, requires buffering between uses, and loading areas typically found in suburban areas rather than in a downtown area. When limited within the area of the downtown, we have limited land and resources. The current requirements constrain the redevelopment of the district as an urban area. The amendment eliminates the dimensional requirements, loading areas, and buffer requirements between the uses, and clarifies that freestanding signs are not permitted, and encourages the use of building signage commonly found in a downtown. Downtown, as you know, has seen a resurgence of activity with people who wish to live, work, and play. The amendment will more easily permit for the rehabilitation and reuse of the existing structures and the development of new structures that fit that urban character. Further, to ensure the compliance with urban standards, the overall design of the structures and layout of the site will continue to be reviewed by the Regional Business District Review Committee. On August 23, 2023, the Regulations Committee reviewed and recommended approval of the above referenced amendment. Therefore, it is our recommendation that City Planning Commission recommend to City Council the adoption of zoning ordinance text amendment ZT-2023-0005. I'm available for questions. Yes, sir?
Yeah.
So Justin, and I know you read it, but just give a description of what the change, the impact of this text amendment will do. If you can try to give a visual picture of what that would look like.
Sure. So, for instance, sometimes in the code, it would require a buffer between, say, a commercial building and any kind of multifamily residential. So that in downtown doesn't happen, right? You don't see that in other cities. So this eliminates it. The preface was the Regional Business District was created, I think, when the Newport Square idea was put in forth, and it had a lot of this buffering. But it really doesn't allow for the district to develop as an urban center.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what this is trying to accomplish.
This is following national trends.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Everybody across the country is doing this.
Sure.
Yep.
So it's not like,
It's always done in Louisville.
yeah, I mean, it's national trends. I mean, all the
Right.
mid-sized cities are doing what the big cities.
So I hope that answered your question. Okay.
Anyone else?
Anything else?
Okay, thank you. All right, matter before the commission.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move that we recommend to City Council adoption of zone text amendment number ZT Tech 2023 Tech 0005.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Did you get it? Seconded, Deidre?
Yes.
Okay. So any discussion?
Nope.
Okay, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Shook,
4.
Mr. Williams,
4.
Mr. Taylor,
4.
Mr. Bowditch,
4.
Ms. Stodgel,
4.
Dr. Maxwell,
4.
Mr. Dice,
4.
Ms. Fox.
4.
Motion unanimous.
And this one will also be heard by City Council on October the 24th. Okay. We're going to move on to our Executive Secretary report. Ms. McAllister.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hopefully, you all had an opportunity to say goodbye to our recording secretary.
Yeah,
She came just to say goodbye to you all.
I know.
She will be missed, but we have Deidre Richardson replacing her for the moment.
Yeah.
Welcome, Deidre.
Welcome back.
That's what I told her. That's when I welcome back.
Okay, on August 15th, the Board of Zoning Appeals approved the special exception for a single-family home on a lot less than 50 feet. And this was at 1026 26th Street. I know it's been a while since we've met, so I'll update you all. On August the 8th, City Council approved a change of zoning from C1 retail commercial to R5 low density. That was the River Muse single-family home development. And then 2 conditional use permits for the Cool Wave. We also had the zoning text amendment that eliminated off-street parking for residential uses in downtown, which basically doesn't, no longer require parking in downtown. Upcoming on November the 1st, we will have a change of zoning from C1 retail commercial to R4 single family at 2501 Roanoke Avenue. And a conditional use permit for childcare at 12720 Patrick Henry Drive. That's First Baptist Church, Morrison. We have no cases for October the 18th.
Okay,
And we don't have anything for work session. So what's your pleasure?
I would like to cancel,
Okay.
or I would like to have a motion.
I make a motion that we postpone October 18th meeting.
Postpone. Why don't we just cancel it?
That's going to be different. Go ahead. I make a motion that we cancel October 18th meeting.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, canceled.
Okay. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
If we're going to continue to get the paper copies, which is fine, is there any way we can get these 3-hole punched? Because I'm trying to keep them in a binder.
Sure.
Thank you.
No, that is a good idea. Because I would put mine in a binder if I had a 3-hole punch. Okay, this meeting is adjourned.
What about
You didn't go through the committee?